Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Democratic Labour Party headquarters. I'm glad to see so many of you here this afternoon, and I am hoping that this will be the first in very many sessions such as this, where we speak to you on issues affecting this country and where we give you an insight into our inner workings. Now, today we have President Dr. Ronnie Yearwood, who will definitely be informing you of our plans going forward, the most important of which will be the announcement of our working group chairpersons. He will explain that to you when he comes here, and he will also be giving voice to some of the pressing issues that are affecting us in this country today. It has been long anticipated that he address Barbados, and today is the day where he shall do so. So once again, welcome one and all.
Good afternoon, Barbadians. Good afternoon, media. Good afternoon to my Democratic Labour Party family. I want to thank you for joining us this evening and communing with us, really, as we seek to discuss some of the issues facing the country. One of the chief purposes of this press conference and this discussion was to announce and indicate persons who will be chairs of working groups for the Democratic Labour Party going forward, and to give you an idea of the structure of this process and what it will entail and mean for the party and for the country. So I will just get into that. So there are 4 chairs and 4-point areas that the party will be focusing on over the next couple of months. These will be the chair of the working group on finance, economic affairs, and governance reform, and that chair will be headed by myself. There will be the chair of the working group on education, family, and social inclusion, and that will be headed by Mrs. Melissa Savory Gittins. There will be the chair of the working group on youth, culture, sport, and juvenile justice reform, and that will be headed by Mr. Rashid Belgriff. And there will be the chair of the working group on health, social care services, and pharmaceutical development, which will be headed by Mr. Paul Gibson. So these will be the 4 key areas and 4 key working groups that the party will be engaging in within the next couple of weeks and a couple of months. The reason for this, and just to explain the structure, these folks will chair working groups of experts and folks within and outside of the party. They will engage with sectoral organizations and Barbadians to inform their views and their positions and to help shape out the policy positions of the party. So therefore, they're not your traditional spokespersons that you would normally have in oppositional politics. As I said before, and I will emphasize again, this is new politics. We intend to do things a little bit differently, and we intend to do so by engaging and empowering Barbadians. So the 4 chairpersons here, as they're called working groups, the name is in the title. They will be working on behalf of this party and on behalf of this country to come up with solutions to the problems that they would face under these 4 particular headings. So what I will do at this point, I can open the floor on that part of the discussion, and then we can allow wider questions on the issues facing the country at this particular point. Mm-hmm.
What was the methodology when picking what would be?
Well, the methodology is really simple. If you survey the landscape of Barbados, you would recognize that these are the 4 pressing issues: the economy and cost of living, education reform, and issues of social inclusion, because people feel excluded and they feel challenged by the cost of living and the pressures that they're facing. Juvenile justice reform. No one can say that crime is not a #1 issue as well. So we understand that our young men are being marginalized. They feel excluded. So that is a very, very, very key area in terms of youth. And health. Health continues to be a pressing and a central area and concern for the country. So really, these are the 4 important issues and challenges facing Barbadians, and we think that these need to be addressed frontally, directly, and they need to be addressed by engaging the people of Barbados. So these chairpersons, I will emphasize it, will be going out into Barbados, talking to you. They will be talking to the sectoral organizations. So I'm putting all the organizations on guard: PTAs, the Medical Association, Pharmacy Association, youth groups. Expect calls from us. And, if you want to reach out now, feel free. We want to hear you. We want to engage with you because we recognize that we cannot form policy in isolation from the people we seek to serve. It makes no sense of coming up with grand ideas here in George Street or in other places, but those ideas are not informed by the experiences of the people on the ground and the sectoral interests on the ground. So that's why it's important that these groups and these persons will be out there, they'll be in the communities, they'll be meeting folks, and they'll be informing the direction of this party and therefore this country. This policy approach, and this may seem somewhat different because parties are often seen as very top-down institutions. The policy comes out the head of the leader and everybody is meant to follow along. That is not the process we're trying here. We're trying something very different, something very new, and it's in keeping with the new politics and engagement and trying to empower people, make them feel as not only feel, but be part of the decision making. So Barbadians can expect to see that their ideas and their views are being reflected by a party that cares for them, and that's the Democratic Labour Party. No, the work will begin in earnest over the next few weeks. The persons were just appointed. They've been informed over the last week of their appointments. They've agreed to their appointments, and over the next few weeks, they will be formulating their work plans and templates in order to go out into the community. But they have been instructed, and they know that they have to, top of that priority, is to engage with the sectoral organizations and engage with Barbadians on these 4 particular issues.
Town hall meeting,
Yeah, whatever means, town halls, schools, online, one-on-one meetings, all forms of contact will be available. We don't have to reinvent the wheel for these things. It's simply about engaging and signaling to the country that the party is serious about engaging and serious about engaging on the things that matter to Barbadians. These 4 issues: the economy, health, education, youth and crime and we know that they're the 4 issues that people mostly care about and the 4 most pressing issues at this particular moment. Yeah, that is a fair question. So we can start with Mr. Paul Gibson. Paul is no stranger to the media or to the political scene in Barbados. Paul has over 24 years of experience in management, marketing, and sales in the pharmaceutical and medical industry. He has a degree in pharmacy from University of Technology in Jamaica, and he has been an agent and a product manager for some of the largest pharmaceuticals in the world, and he's now CEO of All Health Inc. So, really, Paul brings a wealth of experience from the medical field, and I couldn't think of anyone better at this particular point that we can draw on to lead our working group on health, social care services, and pharmaceutical development. And recognize that we've grouped health and social care because they're very important. The issues of our elderly and how we will take care of them have to be brought into our health system, and pharmaceutical development as a very key interest and area that this party will be looking forward to develop. In terms of Mr. Rashid Belgriff, who will chair our working group on youth, culture, sport, and juvenile justice reform. I also could not think of anyone more eminently qualified. He's a lawyer. He has a law degree from the University of Wales, his LSc from Hugh Wooden. He has the bar vocational course certification, and he also has a degree in tourism management. He is a member of the Inner Temple Courts of the UK, and he's been called to the bar here, and he is president or former president of Watton Football Club and a former national football star. He's currently a practicing lawyer. So someone who brings a wealth of experience from sport, someone who's been engaging with young people, and also someone who is a lawyer who can speak to the issues of juvenile justice reform, which are pressing at this particular point in time. Mrs. Melissa Savory Gittins, who will chair our working group on Melissa Savory Gittins, who will chair our working group on education and family inclusion. She has a degree in finance and accounting, also certifications in compliance and management. And Melissa has worked extensively in the area of accounts and financial controlling. But importantly for this role, she brings a wealth of experience from the third sector, having been a governor of the Optimist Club here locally, and is currently working with the president of the Optimist Club internationally. And she's also a trained Toastmaster. So her experience in the third sector will be important as we speak to families and social inclusion, and as we try to broaden out the concept of what education means in this country. And that's myself. I'm not sure you want to hear anything else about me. So that's fine. So that's just our plans going forward, and to indicate to the country that we have heard them, we've listened, we understand that you wanted us to present this team effort. We are rolling out the first set of members of the new team of the Democratic Labour Party. These persons are young, but they will be backed in the working groups by persons with experience. So it will be a mix of youth and a mix of experience as we try to create and provide new ideas and a new direction for this country.
Mr. President, how long will this plan run for? How long will it run for? Start point?
Yeah, the working groups will be expected to have some form of initial reports by year end. I'm a hard taskmaster, but I still appreciate that folks need a little bit of a room and a little bit of flex to be able to perform and do the jobs that they have to do effectively. So we will expect initial reports to the party, and then we'll be able to share that to the country at least by the end of this year.
From the end of the year, I haven't done that. What will people after that?
Well, having done that, we will then re-engage with the country, and we will seek to form these particular policy initiatives that will come out from these groups as part of the policies of the party. So it would take a re-engagement with the country and with the party, and then we get out there and we engage and talk to Barbadians, and we advocate the same way that we have advocated for cost of living. We put our solutions out there. We would do the same thing in all of these areas: education, juvenile justice reform, health. So, as I said, it's a new form of opposition politics. It's not simply about critiquing. That's an important point, don't get me wrong. I appreciate there is a place for robust critique and robust engagement with the country. But as I talk about new politics, I also appreciate that there's a place for having responsible engagement with the government and putting clear ideas on the table for and behalf of the people of this country. It is up to the government to decide if they will use the ideas or if they will not. We will do our part, and we would expect that the people of Barbados know that we are serious and we will not let them walk alone.
What is the team, since coming to office, how you get the team together, your team, the party team, the machinery to take over government and live?
As with any leader and with any group of individuals, there's always different interests, there's always different ideas, and my job as the leader is to pull those things together. It's to sometimes knock a few heads together to get what we need. It's sometimes to bring people to places that they may not have appreciated that they can get to. But that's what a leader does. That's the job that I've signed up to do. And so far, I can say it's going well. I am pleased at where we are as a party in terms of the cycle, coming off of a few months out of an election. I am happy that the party is engaging internally. I am happy that we're also turning our engagement outward to speak to the issues that affect the people of Barbados. The party will be long over having conversations about and with itself. It is time that we've started doing that, and I think that's evident, have conversations with the country about the things that matter to the people of this country. And that's really important. And that's important to me, coming from the background that I've come from, and recognizing that government can do good in your life. And you need government that is good.
The team building, Any ideas yet how the team is coming together?
Well, the team is coming together. It's working together. The three persons that I've selected alongside with myself, we have engaged with each other before, so we're no strangers to each other. We've worked together in the campaign just concluded. So there's already that dynamics, there's already that energy, and it's just a matter of now pulling that together in a way that benefits the party and the country.
With these three, be pointed towards constituencies for representation.
I think that
How far are you from naming at least the first quarter or
I think
15?
I think you're getting you may be getting ahead of me and ahead of yourself there. Look, look, the reality is no. That's it. You ask the questions and I answer. But no, look, the thing about it is we will get to that process in terms of candidate selection at the appropriate time, and the public and the party will be fully informed. And recognize, I said, the public and the party, and it's important because for me, if we're going to create new politics and we're going to talk about engagement, the public has to be a very important feature of that process. And once we have ironed out that process and agreed on the policy internally, we will face up to the country and let them know. So there will be no surprises for anyone. But at this moment, my focus is addressing the cost of living crisis, the economy, crime, education, and health, and the issues that face this country. And we're doing it with the team that we have in front of us. Come back to me in another couple of months, and perhaps you can ask me that question. Then I will have a fulsome, or at least a more fulsome answer for you. Any other questions in terms of even the wider economic issues? As I said, you're free to ask. The conference is not contained to the announcement in terms of the key persons and the chairs of the working groups. You're free to ask and engage on other areas and other questions.
Just want to get your thoughts on this piece of monkeypox in Barbados. Just share your thoughts on that.
Well, from a family perspective, from that is worrying. We all know that it is something that needs to be addressed frontally. We would hope that the government is doing its best. And like crime, I will never politicize health. I will offer, as I have done to the Attorney General, that this party and the new spokesperson on health will work with the government. This is an open, big offer. They can accept it. They don't have to accept it. But I want the people of Barbados to understand that this is a responsible party. This is a responsible opposition. This is a grown-up politics. And we make that offer in a genuine, fair, and open way. It is up to them to decide whether they see the value or not, whether they will wish to alienate the other voters of Barbados simply because they did not vote for the Barbados Labour Party. And I don't practice small politics with a small p. I practice small politics with a big P. And that is to engage, and that is to seek consensus as wide as possible. So I say this, and I say this to the current Minister of Health. The Democratic Labour Party is open to engaging with you, to coming up with the ideas, to understanding what the government's policy will be to deal with monkeypox. As we have done on crime, as we have done on the cost of living, we've been an open party. We put the ideas out there. It is up to them to take us up, to engage. But let it not be said that this party has never done its job and stepped forward as a proper, functioning, new, grown-up opposition to fight for the issues that matter for Barbadians.
Anything about related or work on the offer?
There has been nothing on the issue of crime. And you know something, my grandmother tell me when somebody attempts to kick you twice, you just don't go back for the third time. So the offer was made in a genuine way twice, and I will leave it at that.
Some rumbling over the lunch, summer lunch program.
Mhm.
So I'm happy already saying that perhaps maybe a little practice for the people who might take part in it.
Mhm.
Maybe target the others who may
Mhm.
to regularly children.
Mhm.
Even somebody now, school meal workers, from here, that they were never told that they were going to be part of it.
Mhm.
All of that, what your thoughts are?
Well, all the things that you just mentioned, the fact that perhaps the school meals workers weren't told, the teachers weren't told, these issues weren't thought through, it just confirms what I said yesterday. The programs that the government has rolled out, yes, we welcome the initiatives to help with cost of living, but they seem hot and sweaty. It seems like there wasn't a lot of thought into this to think about how do you deal with the issues of social inclusion, how do you deal with families that are on the margin, how do you deal with providing help to people in a way that is dignified, and a way that empowers them. As I said yesterday, there's a big difference between this party, the Democratic Labour Party, and the Barbados Labour Party. This party is a party that will empower you, to give you money in your hand to go to the supermarket to buy the things that you need for your children and your family, because it's about handouts. It's not about handouts. I hear people going, well, you can't do it immediately. Yes, you can. The reality is that governments find money, they find time, and they find resources for the things that matter for them. When a government wants to do something, we see the machinery just kick in. So why can't they do things that matter for the people of Barbados? The reality is, though, you welcome the program to feed the kids. Why didn't anyone consider direct intervention to the families so that they can go out and buy the food and do the things and cook the food for their own children so that they can have a dignified existence? I grew up really poor in Boscobel. I understand what it is if people try to treat you in a way, and I called it a soup kitchen approach, and I will not take that back. I stand by that. It's a soup kitchen approach. You have people lining up for food. When did Barbados come to this point? And that's how we treat our citizens, and that's how we treat young people. It does not spell well for the future. I am worried about where we are as a country. The state of this nation worries me. I hope that that you can understand. I think everybody is worried, and the government's approaches are not reassuring. There are better ways to do this. Perhaps if they're taught to us, if they're taught to some of the other working groups and third sector folks and the NGOs, they would recognize, and people who are trained in this, direct interventions work better. Having people line up to come to centers for food, do you think that that's something, a place that Barbados should be in 2022? It isn't. The better way would be to find, how do I get the resources to the families? And if you already know, let's be realistic, schools will know which kids are already at the margins. Schools already have sometimes breakfast feeding programs and lunchtime feeding programs. So it's not a surprise. It's not that you have to go out there and reinvent the wheel to find out who needs the assistance. So if you know that, could you not, in a way that is discreet, that is done with dignity, reach to those particular families or other families that you may identify on the margin, to give them the resources? As I said, why are we engaging in what this modern day soup kitchen approach? In some ways, I feel the government and the Prime Minister is trying to turn back the clock on Barbadians. You have talk about growing, 2 rabbits or 2 chickens in your yard. What country is the Barbados Party living in, or the Prime Minister living in? Go through one state, or St. James South, or Ocean City, or places in Christchurch. Where do you have room to raise chickens? Most places have covenants that you can't have animal husbandry. Sometimes you think, who sat down and think of these ideas? Why would you even say something that is so thoughtless, does not engage with modern Barbados or understand where Barbadians is? Over all the years of this country, you've had an urbanization of this country. Everybody's moved to urban and kind of suburban areas, and now you're being told to raise chickens. Where are you going to raise them? How are you going to raise them? Where are you going to raise the 2 chickens in your backyard? You can put some sheep in your back. Where? How? It doesn't make sense. So you have this kind of ill thought out, almost irrational approach, because, as I said, this hot and sweaty, just let me say something in order to quell people's fears, and it's not working, and it's really disingenuous. And I find it that way, having grown up poor, having grown up in the country, having grown up sometimes without things, and that's just the way it is. I understand what it is that you have assistance, but you want that to be done in a way that respects your dignity, respects you are still a human being. Just because you do not have, that should not make you less of a human being, and you should not be subjected to a process, as you rightly said, where you're identified and targeted as needing that assistance. That is not the kind of Barbados that we want to create. That is not the kind of country that any of us would want to live in. We want to live in a country where people have access and where they can do so, even when they are requiring that assistance, in a way that is dignified to themselves and their families. Anyone else?
I'm just wondering what would be, I don't know if you had said it,
Mhm.
what would be BLP's strategy to
Mhm.
deal with the social issue concerning food and indigenous people?
Well, as I just said, one of the things that we would recognize is that we would know the families that are on the margins. All schools, there's not a school, a headmaster or a headmistress or principal that cannot tell you, if you go to them and say, give me a list of the kids, they know. Like every teacher knows. A lot of schools already have breakfast programs that help, so they know. If you collect and compile that, then you know exactly who these families are. So the same way that you're centralizing resources, why can you not give them the direct assistance that will help them to be able to do it on their own? Because that's empowerment. That's a handout. You have the government's approach. No. I'm going to give you a handout because I want you to remember who fed you. And that's not right. That can't be right, because I'm sure, in the next BLP manifesto, it will be 500 families fed during the pandemic, as if we're supposed to applaud that. We're not. And if we're at that point, that is telling us something is wrong with Barbados at this particular juncture, that society is broken and the normal functionings of society are broken. And what the government should be doing is, how do we get people to function normally on their own? What we have instead is this kind of big government nanny state approach, right? They're just throwing borrowed money, because it's not even our money. They're throwing borrowed money at problems to almost buy votes. Because when you think about it, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create this kind of patron-client relationship where you remember that you've been fed by the government, and somehow that's supposed to compel you to vote for the government. It's really ridiculous. It's really transparent. And I'm sad that is the place we are in our politics, because we should not be here. Problem is, however, we are here, and that is in some ways, that's why the party is advocating this new politics, because we really and genuinely believe that the project and the mission of this party is to empower people. That independence project that Barrow talked about, that's part of it. It's not just political independence, it's personal economic independence. So you can stand on your own. If the government starts a program of welfare in year 1 and year 5, that particular family or groups are still on welfare, we have failed. That's just the reality. They shouldn't be in the same place. You should then be dealing with another family to move them from point A to point B. When I started out in my life, we were really, really poor. We didn't have opportunities, but free education provided us with that jump point so that you can provide for yourself, and then you become a wealth generator so that you can contribute to society. And that's how it should be. That's the cycle. But if you're in the same position and you have politicians, and I've seen them bragging, I've gone back to the same house and them in the same way. Why should that? No, you shouldn't be proud of that. You should be ashamed, real shame. But a lot of them aren't. They almost feel good, because then I can give them a handout to keep them where they are. And that's not what this party is about. This party wants to empower you, because this party thinks that you need to be the best that you can be, and that you should be given a chance and an opportunity to be the best in this country. You shouldn't have to leave Barbados to become the best of who you are. But we know that that's happening with a lot of our young people, because they don't see any chances or opportunities here. So what you have really, and if you think about it, it's so crazy to think about it, because you have a country that, like Barbados, we are literally subsidizing the development of the United States and the UK. Think about it. We spend millions, $500 million on education. You're 7 years old, or you go to 21 up to university, and you migrate. What's happened to that money? It's gone. So you migrate, you go to the US, you go to the UK, you do really well. We have literally paid for the development of their system. And that's what's happening. So when we talk about brain drain and migration, we need to start thinking about that way. How does a country the size of Barbados, how are we subsidizing the development of somebody else's country? Rather than finding ways to ensure that the people that we've provided education for stay in this country and provide and develop this country, not somebody else's country. Because a lot of young people feel hopeless. I've been walking around, going around, and the more people you talk to, they feel they can't get a house, they feel they can't get a job, they feel that there are no opportunities for anything. But you have folks at the top doing really, really well, consultants by the bag loads, salary increases for those at the top. Looking about the other day, people didn't even recognize this, and it seemed to pass a lot of people. The Prime Minister got an increased allowances for 1% or 0.5% of civil servants in Barbados. How does that help anyone? How does that help the taxi driver, the hairdresser, all the people that actually need help? How does that help the people that the government just took the pandemic levy the 1% from? So you got the gall to take away somebody's money, increase the top end, which includes yourself, because people getting those allowances will be the same members of parliament, the same folks at the top. But then you're going to tell us that we're in this together and we should be thankful that we're giving the government 1% to pay a levy. That does not add up. And you know what? The people just need to be righteously angry because it's not right. We cannot live in a society like that where you're constantly scooping out from the middle and the bottom and sustaining a very, very, very small few at the top, fueled by really what's Mayor's debt. Because that's what it is. The reality is, the Prime Minister and the government has to own this situation. This is your government now. You got it twice and you got all. It is yours. Anybody else's one. It is your debt. This is your situation. Own it and start governing. Grow up a little bit. And that's all this party is asking. Because if I am coming here as leader of the opposition, head of the second biggest political party in Barbados, and saying, I am going to engage in mature politics. I'm going to put options on the table, come to the table, let's discuss crime, health, whatever is facing this country. I should expect the same from the government. Should I not? Well, helping the 1,000 families. And as I said, all of these things, I'm lauding the approach. I laud the effort, at least, because we have to recognize people need help. So I'm not going to stand here and be disingenuous and say that the folks getting the help they shouldn't. They need the help. But that is what I'm saying is that we can do better in terms of our approaches. We know that there are more than 1,000 families that require help. So why you only focus on 1,000? So this party had recommended, for example, bringing forward the tax credit. So, if you work for below $25,000, the idea is that you get back some money. You get about $1,300 in your hand at the end of each tax year. We recommended bringing it forward so people can have that money in their hands now, because that's a way to empower people. It's your money. It's in your hands. You can decide which supermarket you want to go to. You can decide which brand of cornflakes you want, which brand of chicken you want, because I ain't listing 45 items to tell you what to buy. That is not my job. How does that become the job? How does that become the job of government to tell you which items and what you should be buying and what you should be doing? No, it's not. My job is to empower you. So here is $1,300. Go and buy what you want. Go and shop, do the things that you need to do to make your family life better. So in that vein, yes, we can see you want to help the 1,000, but you have to do better. You have to recognize other people need help. And that's why the policies that we put forward were broad-based, because we recognize we have to deal with everybody in the country. All Barbadians require some assistance. That's working class, that's the lower middle class and the middle class. They require help too. So in some ways we forget those in the middle, but they're just as in a disadvantaged situation as those at the very end. So when you look at the 5 things that we put forward, you recognize that they were covering all spectrums of folks, and it was about putting money in people's hand, because it's all about empowerment. It's not about the government doing things for you. It's about you being empowered to do things for yourself. Any more questions? Any more questions? Well, I would like to thank you so much for attending this morning. I would like to thank those who were online watching. And I want to thank Barbadians for giving me this opportunity to speak directly to you and to answer some of the questions and to outline the way of the party forward. As I said, the Democratic Labour Party recognizes that you have concerns, you have fears, whether that is cost of living, whether it is crime, whether that is how your children are going to eat, whether that is whether your children will be able to go to school come September, whether you will have a job, whether your children will be able to get a job. We recognize this. I feel your fear. I understand it. I've lived it. I've been there. We will not let you walk alone. I want that to be our simple message. This party understands. This party will stand by you. We'll fight for the things that you want us to fight for, because at the end of the day, we represent you and we have to be on your side. So thank you very much. And, as I said, this is a big tent, and I welcome all of you to join in this tent. I welcome you to share your ideas, share your time, and be part of this movement of change, because that is what this party is about. Because we change the party, we change the country. Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our session. I would just like to add a personal note and say that I'm very excited that we have a woman on the team. I must put that in there. We're always happy to have another woman on board, and a special welcome to her, a new face and a new woman. So that's one more lady on the team. We have the bios of the spokespersons available if you need them, because I know it was a lot to scribble down and some may have recorded it, but it's good to just have it on paper. So if you need the bios, you can ask and you will have a copy available to you. So that will help with your stories. Thanks again, everybody. And we hope to see you all some other time in the near future.